What's up, Liron here, and today I'm sketching with my left hand. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another vid. And what I'm gonna do today is a fun little experiment in which I'm gonna try and sketch with my left hand. So I've been reading a few stories about artists that wanted to train both their hands in case something happens to one of them. I hate that topic, but in any case, I just thought it's gonna be a fun little experiment and maybe getting into the head of someone who thinks they don't have a talent for drawing because I'm so well trained in my right hand. I wanna feel what it's like to use your weaker hand. I suck in my left hand. It's really terrible. I have no, I tried writing a few times with it just for the fun of it, and it's been terrible. So what I'm gonna do now is give it a go, and we'll see how the results are gonna be. And this is it, let's get started. So I'm gonna start, and the scene I'm gonna work on is from, I believe, Piazza Navona in Rome. I'm gonna just mark the edges of the page here. This is gonna be humiliating. I completely lack the technique of doing that. So this is turning out to be a nightmare, and I'm only in the frame stage. So what I think I'm gonna do is use a ruler just to get these lines, these first few lines in here. Okay, so I've got a frame, and what I wanna do with this sketch is to show you, I think that it is possible to create even if you don't have good coordination. Hopefully I won't prove the opposite. So what I've got here, there are these two towers that are main points of interest. I'm not going to change the composition too much because it's really interesting. So we've got this little tower here, and I'm just going to measure. So it's about a third from the right, a little more than that. So probably around here is going to be where it's going to peak. Hopefully you can see the reference here in the picture below. So this is where the top of that tower is going to be. Then we've got the two smaller ones. This one's about halfway through, but a little to the left, which is something I do a lot when I measure. So that's the middle point. So I'm going to place it somewhere around here. Now in terms of height from the top, 3, 4, it's like a quarter. So this is about a half, then we've got in the middle here, so that's about a quarter, okay? I'm just placing the edges of the towers. And then we've got another one going here in perspective. So it's important to get the perspective right. So I'm just gonna place it around here, and hopefully this is entertaining also at the level of, I don't usually do real-time tutorials, and this is maybe a nice one for you to check out. So we've got these two towers. And what I'm tempted to do is just kind of throw in a bit of just lines representing them, but maybe it won't be such a good idea, though I can try it out. This is really hard. I'm really bad with my left hand, turns out. We've got here this main dome. So what I think I'm gonna do is take it in a bit of a looser approach just for the pencil stage, sorry. And then I'll come back and with the pen try and get some more accuracy, though I don't see how that's gonna happen. So now we've got that roof here, and it goes off in perspective. We've got the edge kind of around here, this area. So maybe I'll lower it or maybe I'm gonna put it here. So here we've got a line going into this area. And the thing is, even if you don't have good coordination, like I'm having a lot of trouble with now, it's still fine as long as you use several lines and slowly build it up. Later on with the pen, we're gonna just have to wait and see what happens. Now, with the perspective, the way it works is we've got this at an angle, and then it goes a little curvy. Okay, that's how perspective works. So we've got this one here, and then the more we get here, we get this straight line, and I'm gonna cheat because I already have the pen here, and I'm gonna get that line in here, representing the shape of the structure where the towers are gonna connect to it. So we want to get it really to be accurate. Now this part of the roof ends about at the near the left edge of this tower, so I'm just gonna place it around here, okay, and I'm gonna drop a line all the way down here because it's gonna connect to the main, I guess there's this archway or triangular arch, and this is about halfway through here, so about here. And then if we continue with the curving of the perspective, we're getting a line that ends somewhere around here, so that's gonna be like that. This is really interesting. It's about kind of maximizing what you can do. So I can't really draw straight lines to save my life here. So what I'm doing is what I can do is mark the spots. So I'm just marking the spots to from where I want the lines to go through, and then I'm kind of trying to fill in the gaps. So here we've got this line trailing off in the perspective, and above that we have this additional structure right around here, I would say, and I can still mark the spots. I just can't draw straight lines accurately. So we've got this one here, and I think this will hopefully prove that even if you can't draw a straight line, you can still create a sketch. I don't know what will happen when I get the pen, but for now I'm just marking the general areas and placements. So we've got this roof here as well, like kind of like that, and this line moves into the right here, so that's the roof for you. There's the shape here, kind of triangular. It just doesn't feel like I'm looking at my own sketch, by the way, so that's a very interesting experience. Sorry for obstructing the light. Usually it's not an issue because I work with my right hand, but you know, in this one I don't. So we've got this line here. It looks terrible. I'm gonna try and fix it just a little bit. That was terrible. And here we've got this tower. So I'm gonna place it around here. I want to connect that line all the way to this area. Okay, and then round it up like that, and drop it down like this. And really, I know you can't really see the lines as strongly as I want you to, because with the pen, hopefully it'll be a little better. Oh, I actually got a straight line really nicely. I think it could be interesting to do this maybe like once a week for a year, and to see if it actually makes a difference in the skills. I really have no idea how that works, but I guess if you develop the muscle control in one hand, you can do so in the other as well. So now we have one of those. Next up, and I also think you can just leverage it to whatever style works. Like really, you don't have to do the same kind of work when you work like this. So in any case, this one, now we've got this line here, and where the tower connects will be somewhere around here. It's so funny, it's such sensation or feeling I'm not used to. I'm trying to get that straight line, and I just can't. I'm gonna just show you on this side, straight line. You know, I didn't do it inside, so I didn't cheat. I don't want any line to be drawn with my right hand in this one. Notice how I'm also erasing with my left hand, so that's an adventure. Now I want to get the dome somehow, trying to get its curves. It kind of goes like that, and we've got these lines coming out of it like so, and these are going to play a major role because we're going to use those to see where the light and shadows are. So I think that now, just to give myself something to work with, what I'm gonna do is add a bit of the details on the towers, just so that I have the perspective or the things to look at. So we've got this little architectural detail or floor here, like this. We've got this that I already kind of indicated. We've got the same one here going with the perspective, so somewhere around here, like that. This is so funny and freaky. Like I'm so not used to feeling that way. And now we've got this line here, just a bit of details to get things there. Here we've got some windows. That way I'll know how to follow the perspective. Now, one thing I would say is that I didn't create the proportions of my canvas perfectly, so I have an extra space at the bottom. It's like the picture ends somewhere around here, but that's fine. I'm just gonna improvise. It happens quite a lot when I paint as well. I just make the scene a little longer, okay? Elongate the scene, that would be the word. So in any case, that's what I do, and it usually works out. So now I've got, I think, funny enough, enough details. The big moment, the pen. Let's do this. So I wanted to zoom in a bit so you can see how I draw a circle these days. That's a good one. And now we've got this kind of a shape going off like that. And we've got, I don't think I will even be able to do cross-hatching. Honestly, I just don't see it happening. So I'm gonna do kind of squiggly scribblings, I guess. This is funny. Watch out, straight lines. Oh, you know what? I think that one went pretty nicely. I really want to get this one accurately because it's going to play an important role later on. It's like I know I just do something and whatever comes out of it, I just let it be and I find the logic in it, you know? It's like I'm making myself see the good in this sketch, just drawing random lines and hoping that they'll connect later on. Notice how I have no idea what to do with my right hand, or maybe you can't see it, but I have no idea, I'm just putting it on the table. I noticed that this forces me to be a little more impressionistic in my approach, kind of draw it loosely, almost like you see as a preparation for a painting, really, because I just don't have that much control. It could be interesting to see how that would work out for a painting, really just the painting stage itself. I think I'll do a video like that in the future. The one thing that's been a bit bugging me is the fact that it's really messy. I don't have a problem with Messi. I actually like Messi styles. I actually like the football player Messi. But I just hope it will be clear enough as a final result. That's the one thing that I want to make sure that I get correctly. And I think the shading and the cross-hatching, or it's not going to be cross-hatching, let's be real here, but the shading is going to do the job. So once I get to actually shade these, hopefully it will work well and there will be a separation. For example, this whole area is in shadow, so hopefully that'll come through. It's funny because I'm really being forced to think of original things to do. So I'm trying to work with my shoulder, I'm trying to work with my elbow, I'm trying to work with the pivot point of the hand. Nothing really seems to work. It's just I'm not trained in that fine movement, I guess, fine motor skills. The thing I think happens many times is we have an inclination to do something. For example, I really enjoyed drawing, so I just did it. I think it got me a bit of attention as a child. I remember I was drawing Pokemons, and then people thought it was cool, and then I probably just kept at it because I started enjoying it, and then I was able to develop the fine motor skills in my right hand. And then the left hand, that, I don't know, could be inherently weaker. I really don't know anything about this area, but it could be inherently weaker. But in any case, it never got to really develop that fine motor skills. And perhaps with a lot of work, just like I did because I practiced for years drawing, if I can apply that same logic to the left hand, perhaps I will be able to reach a similar level. It could be an interesting experiment to do over the years. I really don't know what the result's going to be like. Oh, that was a pretty good one. Got it? That was a good line. Did you catch that? So yeah, there was just one good line out of many wobbly lines. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. To tell you honestly, if I had the same passion for drawing and let's say both my hands were like this one, I would just do this. This would be exactly what I would be doing if that was a complicated grammar thing. but yeah, I would have done exactly what I'm doing right now. And I would just work with that style as my style. Really, if you have a passion for it and you really love doing that, this could work as well. And this really shows you the difference between the knowledge and composition and skill in placement and understanding and visual intelligence, let's say, and the actual manual skill. So because I have all of the former and currently not the latter, I still get a result that's readable, that you can see what you're looking at. It looks very different from what I usually do, of course, and it's a different style altogether, but it still works as a shape. You can still tell kind of what you're looking at. I think what's going to be a little challenging is the details, and I'm going to pop into these in a moment, because if I would have worked really well organized and with using my strong hand, I would just get all these lines really thinly and really accurately. Now, I could probably get them to be a little more accurate if I'd really take my time with each and every line, but then they lose, I guess, a lot of their spontaneity. So I didn't want to do that, at least in the earlier stages. and with the long lines it was very hard. But maybe with some of the fine details I could utilize that way of doing things and see what happens. So yeah. You know what's funny? Looking at this really takes me back to a time when I do remember I had a bit less control. I think it was when I was around 12, I guess, something like this, or maybe 13, and I didn't have as much control, and I remember struggling with straight lines. It wasn't to this degree, but it was a stage I was going through, and hopefully this really gives you hope, because I think if you work hard enough at building the actual motor skills, you will get there. You know, I'm really starting to think that way. I'm already seeing improvement in my control, because I'm getting to learn the quirks of my left hand and realizing how to use it maybe a little differently in a way that works. Like these lines, this one I got really well. So who knows? The one thing I'm thinking about right now is how will I do the shading? What technique I'm gonna use. It's probably gonna be a little scribbly, because I don't have another choice. I'm not gonna use you know, cross-hatching. It's gonna be like a mix of cross-hatching and something else. So yeah, I keep imagining if this was a brush and I would just have to fill up these spaces, for example, like just a random brush I've got here, how well of a job I'm gonna do. I think it's a bit easier with the brush. It could be a nice experiment. Let me know what you think, and if you want me to do this same thing just with a brush. I think with the lines, because every line is visible, it makes it even harder to get an organized and beautiful result. Not beautiful, because it is beautiful, but an organized result. So I think it could be interesting with a brush to see what it's like. Aside from the fact that I think I have a really good brush control, which I didn't have when I just got started. Believe me, I had terrible brush work. So yeah, drawing these kind of detail-y lines here. I noticed that near the edge I'm having an easier time pulling those straight lines. I don't know why that is, but who knows really. So funny enough, I don't see too many details I have left here to add. Just because I really don't know what I could add. It just looks like a big mess. So what I think I'm gonna do is try blocking in the large shadows, like this one is really large here, under maybe the roofs and things like this. Maybe this will bring me a bit more, a better look at where the details are, because right now it still looks like a big mess to me. So I'm gonna start with the low-hanging fruit, which is this roof, I think, is the best place to start. So I'm gonna tell you, this is really a challenge. It's worse than I imagined. I could be working with the wrong direction, or maybe a direction that's a little harder. I'm gonna change the angle and we'll see how that goes. I really don't know, but it is a huge challenge. This is so hard. Let me try maybe working even that way. So I don't even know if that makes things easier. I think I'm gonna stick with this direction and just make the gaps a little smaller. Man, if I would use my right hand for this, this could be so much easier. This is so hard. Look, if I'm gonna do it with my right hand, it's just like... But with the left hand, it's so messy. Wow. But we don't care. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna make it. And we're gonna make this a beautiful sketch. It's so funny having the confidence from all the time that I've been sketching with the complete and utter lack of skill. It's just funny. Because I do have a lot of confidence that I'll be able to pull this off into an interesting and a nice piece of art, you know? Bits of shadows under these floors or architectural details. There's a strong shadow here within this little rounded, almost not rounded thing, like a window. That's not a thing, Liron, you forgot how to speak. It's like I'm switching to my left hand and I forgot language as well. So one more thing I need to give thought to is this rooftop is a bit darker than this wall. So I'm gonna have to take that into consideration. I think I'll create a strong contrast here right under this area. And here as well. Honestly, if I would see this, someone would tell me, what do you think of this? And I would see this immediately. I would think it's, beautiful, you know? I don't know if you can relate to this. If any of you can relate to this, let me know in a comment. I'm curious to know, I don't know if you have the same experience, maybe even with your strong hand. I really don't. I guess a lot of people do with their strong hand because they developed fine enough motor skills to write, but maybe not to sketch and not to draw. So now we've got this bit of, near the edge of the, I love this about European architecture, there's a stronger beveled part of the wall near the edge, and I like getting that in. So just to give an impression that this is a bit darker, you know. It's so funny, I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's not my sketch. I didn't do this. There's no way, because I'm so not used to the way it looks. Not in a bad way, by the way. It looks fresh to me, you know, it's so different from what I usually do. So in any case, now I have the windows here, and I'm just gonna put in a few lines of perspective to make sure I get them right. So I've got a window right about here, I would say, and another one right around here, and maybe another one right around here. So now I have the dots, that's nice, let's see what I can do with them. Oh, not bad. That was not bad, actually. Window, another window. I have to say that I was expecting it to be much easier. I wasn't expecting it to be this hard. But on the other hand, the result is, compared to how hard it is, the result is much better than I would have thought. So that's interesting. That's an interesting insight. I really try to minimize the details because it's so hard. To the bare essentials, you know, the really bare minimum. I think this area should be a little darker around here, just to create a stronger contrast with the wall. And you see, when things are, if things are working, generally speaking, you know, the placement is correct. Even the wobbly lines in between won't ruin it completely, okay? They will just ruin it partially. So this is a trick I learned from watercolor painting. If it's near the edge, you don't have to really put in any details. So this will connect for the viewer as windows, and I'm just gonna leave it like that. Really no need to do anything here. Maybe just add a bit of a line like this. Yeah, but you don't need anything in addition to that. Straight lines are your best friends. Not really. Okay, so here I've got a bit of a tricky simplification to do here, just because I don't have a lot of room and there's not a lot of details here. So just throwing in like 1, 2, 3 lines, that's windows. That's what we've got. Honestly, I don't want to bombard this with too many details, just because I don't think I'll be able to manage them good enough, well enough. So yeah, just gonna add a bit of here. You know, I have a few other videos to record for you, and I'm really excited about them. I think this is going to be a really good week in terms of content. I think all of the videos are going to be very interesting, like this one. This one's going to come out the same day I record it, so that's, I believe, Sunday. It's going to be out. And then I've got another interesting episode of the Paint Show coming up towards the end of the week. We've got the Business Monday tomorrow. That's going to be, I think, a really good one. I'm going to talk about indie publishing. Make sure you tune in, because a lot of people ask me about independently publishing a book. It's funny. It's a topic that's been talked to death in the marketing scene, but I think, because it's been such a long time that independently published books have been popular, because you just have that opportunity, which is insane. But I like to share my perspective after about 4+ years of doing it. So yeah, and I really want to give you the insider look at it. You know, internet marketers that only deal with marketing, not all of them are bad, of course, but many of them just teach something that they don't know. And I hate the you know, that feeling of teaching something I don't know. I think that's the worst. So I'm going to really show you from my own experience, and hopefully that'll be more valuable than what any internet marketer can teach. Again, no disrespect, some are really, really great. I'm actually learning from many of them. So yeah, and here we go here. So we've got a nice thing going on. I'm going to zoom out a little, and I think I'm going to just run through this area and fill it up with as many necessary details as I can, and then we're just going to, I guess, wrap it up. I don't see a need to get into too many details here, mainly because I just won't be able to get them to look nicely. I'm going to show you a more zoomed out version of this one later on, because I think that will just make things a little clearer, I guess. So I'm really near the end. There are just a few other distinctions between areas that I want to make. So for example, this line here and this tower here. It's not even, I don't think it even continues that far down below, but I think this is an important line. So we've got this shadow here. And honestly, I don't know. I think I'm really close to finishing. I'm just going to add some shadows on the dome. There's this wow, that's a complex shape. So there's like these two lines, and then there's an archway, or an arch, general arch, and then a window inside it. And I'm just gonna do it like this, because I don't think I'll be able to do it more. For the large dome, what I'm thinking of doing is putting very light lines there, just to push it a bit to the back, because I've got all these details at the front and it's very messy. I don't want to make it look very flat, you see, so I will be very minimalistic with the design of the dome, hopefully, not using too many lines. So let's do that. So I've got this part here that's kind of dark, and then we've got the windows here inside the very top part of that towery thing, and just very weak shadows here. Now there's a shadow going across that direction, and in between these, and of course there's a very light, this is not even a shadow, it's just something I can draw. So this one here is very light as well. And then I'm gonna get these very, very weak lines here, like so. Don't wanna make it too strong to keep things at the back. What I should have done is made the outlines a little weaker too, just so that, to make sure that all of it is pushed to the back, but I think that's fine. Now a bit of this, and I think the contrast with this roof will really make it work. There's this detail here that I dropped. It's not that important. I'm not even gonna include it. Then we've got these drain pipes here, and only thanks to you I know it's called a drain pipe. We've got another one here, kind of going all the way to the bottom. And these ones don't really have a drain pipe. So now I'm taking a step back and trying to figure out what's missing here, or what this needs other than my right hand, and trying to figure out what would improve upon it a little bit, just to make the larger shapes a little more distinct. I think making this a better separation will do. I think here it needs stronger separation as well. Wow, that was a good one. Together with maybe just kind of this area here. These shadows in the shadow are important as well. I think making these shadows again a little stronger, just because they're in the shadow. And I think I'm almost done here. What else can I add? Okay, so I just added the odd window here and there, and I think honestly this one is done. I wouldn't change too much about it. There's this circles here around the windows. This was a very, very interesting experience. Really, I am very excited about the result. I thought the result compared to how hard it was is going to be much worse. Oh, I forgot to add this little fence here as well. You see, when you don't work the normal way you work, things tend to get a little more confusing. But honestly, I think I like this result. Let me know what you think, and if you want me to make another similar video but with painting, I think it could be interesting to establish just a pencil sketch like I did earlier, and then try and work with a brush. I have a feeling the result is going to be a little better with watercolor, funny enough, but who knows? We're going to just have to test it out. When I think about the actual drawing with the brush technique, I imagine it to be a little easier. Sorry, I just got something in my throat. So I imagine it to be a little easier, but when I imagine the whole wiping the brush on the towel, re-wetting it, this sounds actually really hard for me. So we'll have to see about that. I do think it would be cool to be ambidextrous. That's how we say, like, good with two hands. And actually, one more step before we wrap it up. I can't resist the urge to add stronger borders, because the borders are really, really important. Just in establishing the composition, so I'm gonna do it now. Okay, so this is it, final result. Here's a more zoomed out view, hiding my face in shame. This was a challenge. It was much harder than I imagined. I think it could be interesting to see if I can actually develop this skill using my own exercises. So what I think I'll do is just do some exercises, cross-hatching, rainbows, rays, suns, all of the good exercises that I teach. I think I'm going to apply them and see how it goes. It could be an interesting challenge to try and improve my left hand skills. As you can see here, I have the knowledge, I know where to place the lines, but then the actual application of the information is that. I will say this just looks like a different style to me. I like it, I love this result. I actually saw I have seen so far a lot of people working in that style, and I don't know if they do this out of need or out of necessity or just because that's the style they like, and I love it. I love the sketchiness of it. So, you know, I think if I were in the situation where this is the best lines I can produce, I would just go for it and completely embrace this as my style. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I think it was a fun little video. Let me know if you want me to make a similar one for painting. I think it could be a very interesting thing to do. Again, as I mentioned, I have a few very interesting upcoming videos. There's a special episode of The Paint Show. Episode 40 is coming up. We have a good episode of Business Monday tomorrow about a topic that was really requested. And another video, I think Painting Masters, is going to be really interesting with a surprising artist. This entire week is going to be a huge adventure that I'm really looking forward to. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my beginner's drawing course in the description below. If you're like me with your right hand only, I'm like that with my left hand. Be sure to check it out in the description. I actually updated it so you can finally pay with credit card. It's ridiculous. I'm going to talk about it in Business Monday in one of the episodes. You can pay with credit card. I have the drawing course, then the shading course. You want to check out both of these, trust me. And this is it for today. I will talk to you again real soon.